Welcome to the freestyle. I am Daniel Omach. Today we are gonna launch the Greatness series and talk about the one and only, the GOAT, Stacey Abrams. A lot of stuff has happened recently. I think Trump just got impeached for the second time. Over here breaking records. The Capitol thing happened. We'll talk more about that at some point. And I think a lot of that actually distracted from the greatness that was and is Stacey Abrams and all the people and organizations that she worked with to give the Democrats a majority in the Senate with the wins of Raphael Warnock, John Ossoff. They won over Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, respectively, for the final two Senate seats in a Georgia runoff election for control of the Senate. Stacey Abrams was a huge part of that, and I want to talk about that today. So I do have some notes that I had to look at because this video involves a lot of facts, a lot of information. I don't memorize everything. I'm not an elephant. Either way, I'm going to be locked in, going to be engaged, super excited to celebrate her greatness and to launch the Greatness series. Today's the day. Now is the time. Freestyle time. Let's get it. All right, so why did I choose Stacey Abrams? Why? I think Stacey Abrams is an example of someone who noticed a problem, actually was unfairly impacted by that problem, and decided that she was going to do everything in her power to solve that. So the background on that is obviously 2018, Stacey Abrams ran for the governor position and lost to Brian Kemp. There are a lot of details about what happened there, but either way, the point is she didn't feel like she had a fair shot because of massive voter suppression policies, and she still fought and fought to get, as many voters in Georgia registered to vote. And this didn't just affect the Senate elections, it also affected the presidential election, where Joe Biden and Kamala Harris won Georgia. Georgia, a state that was pretty red. People say Stacey Abrams had a lot to do with turning it purple. So shout out to Stacey Abrams. So that's why I wanted to choose her. I think in this world today, it's easy to start thinking, what kind of impact can I have as an individual? What actions can I really take? Stacey Abrams, I think, helped to prove that you, as an individual, can make an impact if you decide to build coalitions and work hard. This is work that happened not even only over the 2 years since 2018, but over years before that, when she launched what's called the New Georgia Project in 2014. So let's start with some background on Stacey Abrams. Who is she? Where did she come from? She was born in Wisconsin as the second oldest of 6 kids. She was actually raised in both Gulfport, Mississippi and Atlanta, Georgia. She has been wicked smart for a long time. She graduated valedictorian from her high school. Valedictorian. Magna cum laude from her alma mater, Spelman College. Shout out HBCUs. She earned a Master's of Public Affairs from UT Austin, and then a JD from law school. Here's another thing, a random fact that I know you don't know about Stacey Abrams. Maybe some of you know. She's an award-winning fiction author. She writes romantic suspense novels under a pseudonym, Selena Montgomery. Also, another thing that maybe you know, but maybe you don't know, she has been an outspoken activist from a really young age. Check this clip out right now of Stacey Abrams as a young, passionate activist. Check this out. This is greatness. This is greatness.
And today, I come to you as a young person, as a young woman, as a young black woman, to ask you to use us, use the young people of the United States of America to pave a road that will last forever.
Wasn't that dope? So in 2002, at 29, she was appointed the deputy city attorney for the city of Atlanta. In 2006, she won an election with 51% of the vote to join the Georgia House of Representatives. So she did her time there. She thrived for 10 years until she decided to run for Georgia in 2018. So let's get into that. She ran against Brian Kemp. I mentioned it at the beginning of the video. What were the details of, for example, the voter suppression policies and strategies that were enacted? So Brian Kemp was Georgia's Secretary of State at the time. That means he was in charge of elections and voter registration. And he was running for governor. I guess no conflict of interest there. What? And so this guy, he's basically like the Steve Jobs of voter suppression, like the Albert Einstein of voter suppression. But instead of, coming up with really cool phones, instead of coming up with like really cool phones or coming up with E=MC squares, he was gerrymandering like crazy, which we'll get into that in a second. And he was basically deregistering massive amounts of voters. His office canceled about 700,000 voter registrations in 2017 alone. Remember, the governor election was the year after 2018. In fact, on a single night in July 2017, 500,000 voters had their registrations canceled in Georgia. In October of 2018, less than a month before actual election day for the governor, 53,000 voter registration applications were on hold, controlled by whose office? Brian Kemp's. Those applications were said to have over 75% belonging to minorities, so sort of targeting a group there. And he introduced laws such as exact match, which basically meant like if you had like a hyphen in your name and there was any difference between that and what was on your voter registration card, you weren't allowed to vote. Just like that. Oh, also, Kemp's office oversaw the closing of 214 polling locations in Georgia. 214 polling locations. Abrams lost the election by 50,000 votes. Kemp's office was found to have violated the Help America Vote Act, along with a lot of other things. So he's currently fighting multiple lawsuits about what went down in 2018. So not good vibes. Voter suppression in Georgia is no joke, right? An independent analysis of over 300,000 voters found that 60% of them wrongfully lost their right to vote because of an incorrect assumption that they had changed their address. So this is some of what, makes the census so important. That's what determines the amount of polling locations in different areas, what the population is, and it impacts voter registration, obviously. So there was lots and lots and lots of long lines at polling locations because they decided to consolidate. When I mentioned they closed 214 of them. So we're talking about Six Flags lines, Busch Gardens lines. If you know Florida, if you know about that, shout out. Not really a shout out to Florida. I don't know that I want to do that. Anyway, super long lines, insanity, and lots of gerrymandering. I mentioned that before. What is the definition of gerrymandering? Drum roll, here's the time. This is the definition of gerrymandering. And if you look at this diagram, you can see that it can have a massive impact on the results of elections. So basically, Stacey and organizations fighting for the vote in Georgia had an extremely tall order. It was basically like trying to score a lefty floater over Yao Ming and Taco Fall on the same team, or trying to fight against Doc Ock and Spider-Man on the same team, like together. Good luck. It's hard. I saw Spider-Man 2. That's one of the best ones, actually. Maybe the best. I'm not sure. The Andrew Garfield ones are decent as well. So, okay, now you've heard all that. That was the problem, right? That Stacey was facing. Put yourself in her shoes, right? Could you imagine losing an election that way by 50,000 votes? Given those dynamics, given those details, could you imagine the deck completely stacked against you? A lot of people, I think, would lose hope and generally give up and feel like there's nothing I can do here. This is impossible. This apparatus is impossible. But she decided that she was going to try to solve this problem as much as she could. So she created a voting rights nonprofit called Fair Fight. Fair Fight has done some tremendous work in Georgia, but they've also built voter protection teams in 20 states and counting. I think it's more than that now. So keep in mind, though, she was already doing work to register voters through something called the New Georgia Project, which was founded in 2014. But Fair Fight expanded that effort. She also has an organization called Fair Count, which is focused on the census, which I already said is extremely important for determining polling locations and voter registrations. So at the time of the presidential election, Fair Fight said it had registered 800,000 first-time voters over the past 2 years. 800,000. That's massive, massive impact. Of course, she didn't do this alone, right? So her vision and her leadership made it happen, but she also built coalitions with grassroots activists and other organizations such as Pro Georgia, Galileo, Georgia Stand Up, Black Voters Matter, and a lot more. So together they called, they emailed, they knocked on doors, they were relentless about getting out the vote in Georgia. Well, as I mentioned, in November of 2020, what happened? Joe Biden won the election by about 12,000 votes. He won Georgia by about 12,000 votes, and he won the election by like 7 million plus. We got to get rid of the Electoral College. We got to introduce ranked choice voting. We'll talk about those more in the future. You know, those efforts by Stacey Abrams and others undoubtedly had a massive impact. And as I mentioned recently, Raphael Warnock, John Ossoff won the Senate runoff races. I think according to a state vote tracker, more than 100,000 Georgians who didn't vote in the presidential election requested a mail-in ballot for the runoff. 100,000. Again, massive, massive impact of Fair Fight, Stacey Abrams, and her mission. That, to me, is greatness. She saw a problem, she sought out to solve it, and she made an impact that we can all see, that we all felt. It's pretty incredible, and I think it deserves the spotlight. There are a lot of things that have happened since then, and I think people are sort of forgetting what happened, but remember this impact that Stacey Abrams had. And I want to leave you all with a quote from Stacey Abrams. Whether in elected office or as an active citizen, I believe we are required to find solutions to our most intractable problems and to use our skills to expand opportunity for all. So whether you're elected, whether you're an active citizen, if you have a skill set, if you find issues that maybe don't have a clear solution, Stacey Abrams is saying she thinks it's our duty as a society, as people, to do our best to make an impact, to change that. At the end of the day, helping people vote shouldn't be controversial. It's our right. But if we're honest and we think back, they used to charge poll taxes on black folks so they couldn't vote. There used to be literacy tests on black folks back in the day so they couldn't vote. Jim Crow laws turn into other more sophisticated modern means of voter suppression on minority communities. Gerrymandering, deregistering, laws such as exact match. It's just another form of literacy tests, poll taxes. It's just another form of it. We need to fight against these things at all costs. All right, that's it. Stacey Abrams is the GOAT. This is the Greatness Series. I'm Daniel Omach. Thanks for watching the freestyle. Peace.